All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about international issues here and how they coincide with our own political system. So I think that obviously people have a right to an opinion, but sometimes those opinions won't necessarily help them in the long run. And when you see people focusing on Benjamin Netanyahu with regards to Israel policy, what the critics of Israel will often do is they think that they're being more clever by focusing on Netanyahu as opposed to just blanket statements about Israel as a whole. But it is there comes to be a certain issue in the long run when you attack a person. You specifically attack a person, it does create diplomatic issues. And Beto O'Rourke has kind of stepped in it in a way uh, yesterday. Okay, again, he can think whatever he wants. I think that people have a right to criticize foreign leaders if they want to, including Netanyahu. But he went and called Netanyahu a racist. He said that. Um, so he spoke at a U.S.-Israel relationship at a campaign event in Iowa. I'm not sure how that came up in Iowa, but it seems to come up everywhere. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised. O'Rourke, a former congressman from Texas, added that he does not believe Netanyahu represents the true will of the Israeli people in his remarks in Iowa City. The U.S.-Israel relationship is one of the most important relationships that we have on the planet, and that relationship, if it is successful, must transcend partisanship in the United States, and it must be able to transcend a prime minister who is racist as he warns against Arabs coming to the polls, O'Rourke said. O'Rourke made the comment to reporters after his rally where one of the attendees asked him about conflict between Israel and Arab nations. He went on to endorse a two-state solution between Israel and Palestine, saying it's the best option for a lasting peace in the region. We must be able to transcend his current leadership to make sure that that alliance is strong, that we continue to push for and settle for nothing less than a two-state solution because that is the best opportunity for peace for the people of Israel and the people of Palestine, O'Rourke said, according to a CNN report on his statement. O'Rourke's statement comes 2 days before a prime minister election in Israel. Netanyahu, who is seeking re-election, has vowed to annex Israeli settlements in the West Bank if he is re-elected. Netanyahu has also allied himself with President Trump and conservative politicians in his country. So, why would that be an issue, you might ask? Well, if he were to become president, Beto O'Rourke would have to negotiate relationships with any leader of every sovereign nation. Doesn't matter whether it is Turkey or Israel or Russia or China. I am certainly, careful, more careful than ever now to, balance the criticism that I have of leaders of China and Venezuela and Russia with some of these people. I am avoiding any appearance of trying to advocate for intervention in those countries. I don't think that we can manage the affairs of Russia. And we seem to talk about Russia a lot, but there's also a lot of people talking about Israel. Now, let me show you why some of these issues can become, real problems for American foreign policy long term. And in 2016, after Rodrigo Duterte was elected the president of the Philippines, he got into a real dust up with Barack Obama after Obama started criticizing his extrajudicial executions of drug traffickers over there. So, would I want a Duterte style policy here in the U.S. regarding people who deal dope? I don't think so. I think that we need a country where due process is upheld, but we still can't dictate what policies are going to be implemented in the Philippines, which has been independent of the U.S., mind you, since 1946 or 47, I forget which year. So when Obama went around the world and started telling other countries how to manage their internal affairs, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Now, Donald Trump does do that sometimes as well, but you'll have to admit that in terms of being able to negotiate economic issues, Donald Trump has been much more successful than either Barack Obama or President Bush. And he's also tried to reduce American intervention abroad. So if you look at, so that's really what could happen. You could have like an actual rupture in relations between the U.S. and Israel should someone like Beto O'Rourke come into office, and I'll tell you why. So this is, you might be asking, what the hell is this? This is Globes, which is the Hebrew version of the Wall Street Journal. So they have the latest polls from this week, which is it's going to be on Tuesday. You're going to see the election, and it's a pretty predictable election. And I know some people are really looking at it very, very closely or whatever. Don't even bother. And I know some people who for some odd reason, they feel it necessary to worship at the feet of Netanyahu, who I don't think is a particularly good leader at all. And then other people will blatantly idolize him. It just doesn't make any sense. And you can see here, I'll go from left to right here. So it has 30 seats going to the blue and white coalition, which is Netanyahu's opponents, led by Benny Gantz, the former chief of staff of the IDF, and Yair Lapid, who is a former TV journalist. Second party is Netanyahu's Likud with 27, the Labor Party with 10, the United Toward Judaism Party with 7, the Hadash Party, which is a communist party, along with the United, well, I think this is a new Arab list, I think, Tal. I forgot what they stand for, but they're an Arab party. So that's 6 seats. The New Right with another 6 seats. The Union of Right-Wing Parties with another 6 seats. The Meretz Left-Wing Party with 6 seats. The Zehut Party, which is a little more of a libertarian right-wing party with 5 seats. The Shas Ultra-Orthodox Party with another 5 seats. Kulanu, which is a social welfare issues party with 5 seats. The Our Home is Israel Beitenu with 4 seats. And the Ram Balad Party, which is another coalition of Arab parties with 4 seats. So let's count coalitions, okay? The right-wing coalition, if the Likud wanted to cobble together a coalition, they would easily have 27 plus 7 with the ultra-Orthodox party. So you have 27 from the Likud, 7 with the Torah Judaism party. That's 34. Another 6 with the New Right party. That comes up to 40. 6 more seats. We're aiming for 60, by the way. That's 46 with the Union of Right-Wing Parties. 51 with the Identity Party, Zehut. Then 56 with the Shas Party. 60 with the Israel Beitenu Party, and 5 more. They would probably be able to bridge the gap with the Kulanu Party. They would easily reach 65 seats with a number of these parties that are, they're right or right leaning at least. If you want a left wing coalition, so you start with the biggest party, the Blue and White Party, which is a centrist party. Then you bump up to 40 with the Labor Party. Then you have to go all the way to the Meretz Party. That gives you 46. Okay, and they usually aren't able to join a coalition because they're out of their minds. And you probably end there. The most they will probably be able to get is 46 seats, maybe 51 if the Kulanu Party would join with the Meretz Party. So what many Americans don't understand is that in countries overseas, where you have a parliamentary system, it is about building coalitions, really building coalitions, because you have multi-party politics, and then there's good things about it, there's bad things about it. You know, in terms of budgets, everybody has their pet public group. You know, the Israel Beitenu Party is mostly Russian immigrants, and of course the Arab parties are looking after their own voters. And then, you know, there's the ultra-Orthodox parties, of course, are looking after their religious education institutions. So, yeah, what I think is also a factor that people forget is that often the party that people usually underestimate is Netanyahu's Likud. They have a very loyal voter base, and for some reason they can never seem to be vanquished. And that's why Netanyahu has been able to stay in power for so many years. So Beto O'Rourke, or any Democrat worthy to get elected into office would have to build a relationship. If they want a relationship with Israel, they would probably have to build it through Benjamin Netanyahu, okay? Even if he were not to be the prime minister in the next election, you also have to think about like how does somebody come to power without him being prime minister? They would have to have him in their coalition, possibly as foreign minister, maybe as finance minister, maybe as minister of defense. So you could see, for example, the blue and white party, the centrists, joining with the Likud. That gives you 57, if you believe this poll, which could be, actually under speculating the Likud. So that's 57. All they would need then is one other party, which, for the sake of argument, let's say the Kulanu party joins, and then the Israel Beitenu party. So that would give them 66 votes in the Knesset. You need 60 to get a majority. There's 120 members, and that would be a relatively stable coalition. So that would pretty much put the coalition at the mercy of Netanyahu. What happened in the 80s was that at a certain point, there was a rotation agreement between the Labor Party and the Likud Party of the previous generation, with Yitzhak Shamir and Shimon Peres. So for 2 years, Shimon Peres was the prime minister. Then they flipped over and gave it to Shamir. That would be, in my opinion, a very possible scenario where Netanyahu agrees to a rotation agreement with Benny Gantz, and then eventually somehow tricks Benny Gantz into shooting himself in the foot, because the guy he's simply not as big of a political mind as Netanyahu. And that's what people don't understand, that it's very difficult to get rid of politicians like him, because he's simply, he's been in the game for so long. He's been able to basically survive so many scandals and so many fake scandals in some cases, that it's almost impossible for me to see Netanyahu, A, not being prime minister, and B, even if he isn't prime minister, not getting a cabinet post. So, yeah, Beto O'Rourke is going to have to deal with Netanyahu, in my opinion. And if he were to become president, which I think is pretty, I mean, it's almost impossible for me to see Beto O'Rourke becoming president. And I think it's a word for the wise for people who are out there trying to make waves in the presidential election. Maybe talk more specifically about narrow policy issues as opposed to specific individuals that you could be dealing with, because you never know. People have been, shooting off their mouth about Putin for the past 2 years. The fact is, you're going to have to deal with Vladimir Putin as the president of Russia. You're going to have to deal with President Xi as the president of China, or whatever he is over there. You're going to have to probably deal with, Merkel for the time being, although it's looking less and less likely. And in Canada, those people who are counting on Trudeau to survive, you should look at we're probably going to be talking about Trudeau over the next few weeks anyway. He's in major trouble. So don't count on having a lot of sympathetic leaders to the liberal world order that you supported if you're a Democrat. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Please like, share, subscribe. By the way, there could be another interview this week, Tuesday night, with Dr. Rick Mehta. We've been talking a bit about doing an interview with him from the University of, I think it's Acadia University in Nova Scotia. So we're going to talk to them a little bit about legal issues in academia where, there's limits to freedom of speech. But that's about it. Please like, share, subscribe again. Also, subscribe to me on BitChute at Chef Leopard, my second channel, Razor Ray Special Cuts. Also, subscribe to me on Minds. That's also at Chef Leopard, and on Gab at Starscream85. And have a great Monday.